also the four kingpins of SG tech space according to fundamental scorecard. So what I want to say is that in Singapore, most probably people don't really think that Singapore has a technological industry per se. But I'm just telling you today that I found four and they're quite interesting. And it's according to my fundamental scorecard, how it has selected them accordingly. So I'll be showing you. And so in this slide, I'll be focusing a bit more on the fundamental scorecard, which is the quantitative side basis, and not really the qualitative. So let's go on. So just some disclaimer. With as usual, I'm not a financial advisor. Please, anything that I talk tonight, please do your own due diligence, and then don't buy or sell based on what solely what I said lah. Okay. So firstly, why I want to look at tech, right? I mean, I think there's in the last few FB live videos that I had, there are questions about people are still questioning like why tech is US tech industry still uptrending or whatever, right? And in the last few video, I always the answer is always similar. I always tell Jimmy, tech is the future, right? Just go for it. But because if you look at how our life has changed, right, it provides us more convenience, a higher standard of living, as well as solving problems, right? If you remember a few years ago, we are still watching TV. There's still no streaming. Maybe not a few years ago, maybe a decade ago. There wasn't any streaming. There wasn't Netflix. And now you have things that are called connected TV. You know, what is connected TV a decade ago? We wouldn't know, right? So, and last time we are still using telephones. Now we are slowly focusing on handphones. And last time we used laptop. Now we use tablets. And some of the tablets have become so small, it's called a handphone and all in one. You know? So there's a lot of, that's how tech has changed our life. So that's why I will still be focusing on tech. And then it's a long-term trend, and then we should be just looking, I believe the future is still on tech. And then that's why I decided to look at SG Tech. But you know, in SG, right, nobody believes that, you know, Singapore where got tech firm one, don't have, you know, nobody believes that, you know, if you really want. However, when I was looking through this, I was doing some research, right, I realized there are about four of them that I think I named that as kingpin, because I really think that they are the bully in the Singapore tech market space, because they actually has US-like return, right? 76 to 176% between the four stocks. I mean, they shared this amount of returns since the lowest point in March 2020. You know, this kind of return you can only hear in US. And the thing is, it could possibly continue to rise in the long term, right? Maybe in the next 2 to 3 years. As I said, I believe in tech, so I believe that they will still rise, right? And then, to be honest, when I look at their revenue, net profit, net margins, cash flow, free cash flow, it's all on the uptrend. And when you compare to STI ETF, which has rise about 29% since the lowest point in March, right? I mean, this four stocks is really like outperform the STI ETF. And these companies actually have ties in major companies around the world. So let's just go straight into it, right? So who are these four kingpins, right? That's called company A, rise over 176% since March 2020. Company M, 112%. Company U, 108%, and as well as company P, right, about 76%, which is inclusive of its capital reduction recently. Okay, I just go directly. So if you can see here on this picture here, right, is part of the fundamental scorecard, which I will look more deep dive more into later. But if you look at here, this is part of the picture shows fundamental scorecard. It highlights the numbers, the revenue, the net profit, the net margins, and the free cash flow that this company has, right? So the first kingpin that I'm talking about is AEN Holdings. It has rise about 176% since the lowest point in March. And this is based on the SGX data. And then they have, I mean, I think most of us know, right, Intel is the key customer, as well as I think previously in 2018, from my research, Huawei was a key customer, but I'm unsure about whether are they still a key customer now. But I know Intel is still the key customer. And if you look at the revenue trend, the net profit, right, it has all been rising on the uptrend, right? Even the margins, although you can see it's tiny, but it's still on the uptrend. And the main thing is, if you look at is free cash flow, right? It's also uptrend. It's cash flow itself is uptrend. So this is the first kingpin that I'm talking about. And if you look at this picture, right, it highlights all the points in the three financial statements: the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statements. And from this visuals, you can straight away know that this company is doing very well. It's been on uptrending in its revenue, its cash flow basis. So let's move on to the second one, right? The second company is called Micromechanics, right? So it's the company M. It has grown 112% since the lowest point in March 2020, right? It has over 600 customers around the globe. And when through my research, China is actually the biggest geographic country that contributes this revenue. You will know that all of them are increasing, right? The net margins itself is even very hello. Jimmy, you all can still hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I think my internet.
Yeah, your internet connection is a bit disrupted. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So let me continue. China is the biggest geographical segment for micromechanics. And then if you look at the visuals, the graph, right, revenue, net profit, and net margins wise, right, it's all on the uptrend. And the net margin is even very high at about 24%. Free cash flow, right, I think is like, I mean, the graph could, if I want to enlarge it, it should be showing even much higher increment. So as you can see here, there's also all the plus sign where it shows that, all the balance financial statements are showing very good positive points on all the financial statements. So this is what fundamental scorecard shows, and then it's like at one glance, this company is damn good. Okay, so let's move on to the next company, right? So I talked about two of the kingpins. So who are the other two? The next one, UMS Holding Limited. It has grown about 108% since the lowest point in March 2020. They also have a key customer, Applied Materials, right? And there's this rising global chip demand globally. I mean, with all the EVs, with all the handphones, 5G, all these tech basis companies, right? There's definitely a demand for chip in the future. And so let's look at the revenue, right? For UMS Holding, you can see that the revenue is increasing, but it's not there was some, I would say that it's rather consistent in the earlier years. I mean, this picture just shows the last 10 years. So in the earlier years, it's rather consistent, and it has been rising. The last 4 years, it has been on the rise, the last 3 years. And net profit, it has been slightly unstable, but volatile, but nevertheless still an increasing trend. Net margin is still high at about 28%. And if you can see the cash flow, the last 8 years, it was actually quite stable, but the last 2 years, it has been on a rise, basically. So this basically, at the end of the day, it sounds like, although I sound like it's not as good, to be honest, if I own this company, I feel that this is damn good. Like this probably only lags a bit from the first two customers where the visual show that it's increasing a lot, but then UMS seems like it's not so good. But if you compare to the other companies, probably UMS will become the one of the better companies that you can find in our tech space, right? So the last customer, sorry, not the customer, the last company M, P, Powermatic Data System. Okay, so it has risen 76% since the lowest point from March 2020, and this includes its capital reduction about 28 cents, and then it's actually the official appointed Qualcomm authorized design center in Southeast Asia. So basically, Qualcomm is they are the authorized design company for Qualcomm, which is the 5G leader, with so many patents on their hand. And then yes, 5G will basically help Powermatic data itself to as a there will be the area of growth for Powermatic data is within 5G at the end of the day. So as you can see here, their revenue, net profit, similarly to UMS, net profit slightly volatile as compared to the first two, and net margins, but net margins are still high, 28%, and cash flow wise, similarly, last 2 years has been on an uptrend. And okay, I think Powermatic, there's something wrong with this picture. I probably didn't show the correct one. Let me share the apologies. Because this should be slightly different. Okay, let's go. So anyway, this is the fundamental scorecard. Okay, yes. So you can see here, this is a bit, okay, just now on the graph, on the PowerPoint slide is the UMS data. So for the Powermatic data, the revenue, the net profit, the net margins, they are on a rising trend. It's still rising. And then you can see that it's growing quite rapidly as well. The net margin is quite high, it's about 32%. And the cash flow basis also on a significant uptrend. The last 3 years has been quite consistent. Right? So let's go back to the PowerPoint slides. Apologies just now. So let's go back to, sorry. Okay, let's take a look at these forecast companies again. AEM Holdings, they have a key customer, Intel. And basically this is in the chip industry, definitely. And then semiconductor, I mean in the broad spectrum space, I won't go into their nitty-gritty as what they exactly do, but let's just say that they are in the semicon industry. Micromechanics, 600 customers around the globe, China being the bigger segment of them. Similarly, they actually do, they are not tech basis semiconductor companies, but they actually do a lot of, I would say, consumables, sell a lot of consumables in China. And their customer, most of them are in the semicon space itself. And China is basically, if I'm not wrong, that there are cluster of areas that is very focused on a tech space itself, like semicon. They have all this cluster that they actually produce all those chips and stuff like that. So Micromechanics is doing that right now. They sell consumables to these customers. So let's move on to the next one, UMS Holding. Similarly, chip demand, applied materials, which is the key customer. And Powermatic data. I would say Qualcomm is a key customer, but having said that, I can't find the data of how much is being contributed. So, but then again, having been appointed as the authorized design center, I would say that definitely they will be in the lead for 5G in that sense. So basically, if you can see here, the only company that is not really tech basis in the semicon industry is Micromechanics. And the other 3 companies are all in the semicon industry, basically Qualcomm, Powermatic Data, which is having partnered with Qualcomm, and UMS Holding, partnering with Applied Materials, and AEM, partnering with Intel, all in semiconductor industry. Okay. So let's just look at each of the fundamental scorecard. Okay, it's just 3 more slides and then I'm done.
Well, there are questions for you.
Okay. Let me just I will just be very direct. Okay. We have seen the fundamental scorecard, and then we have seen how good each company is. But let's just look at the score itself. The growth score for AEM is high. So they're sort of like the scorecard deems it as a growth company. Micromechanics is a mode score. That means they deem it as a high competitive edge. UMS Holding, high mode competitive edge as well. And then Powermatic Data is a growth company score. So generally, I would say that let's just look at the number of ticks they have. Let's just, because fundamental scorecard is meant to be a very simplistic visual data. So we have these 4 boxes. So at the end of the day, if I look at the 4 boxes of these 3 companies, right, you see AEM, there's one cross, Micromechanics, 3 ticks, and fair value maybe is fairly valued with 2 red flags. UMS is 1 red flag, similarly to Micromechanics, and Powermatic Data. So I mean with 4 ticks. So I just be very direct and tell you what I actually have vested today. Okay. So it's not them, it's not a 4 heavenly key, it's Powermatic Data. Okay. So I just solely base it on my fundamental scorecard itself to come up with this decision, and with probably very little qualitative data. And if you are interested in the fundamental scorecard, let's just go. If you're interested in the fundamental scorecard, I'll be talking more about it in my strategy during the COVID-19 that made me better, and during the webinar that is this coming Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. And it's free, and you can scan the QR code around to get to the to register for the webinar. It's free anyway. Okay. Sorry, Jimmy. So now back to you.
No problem, no problem. Thanks for showing the scorecard. And in fact, the one of the questions from Michelle is that among these 4 companies, which is your most preferred and why? And I think you just explained it, but perhaps you want to repeat that explanation again?
Sure. Basically, Powermatic, I chose Powermatic Data purely from the fundamental scorecard basis. I mean, like I said, having more ticks in the fundamental scorecard shows that it's a better quality company quantitatively. So on the qualitative qualitative side of things, right, I think it's of having known that they're under Qualcomm, and then Qualcomm is the leader. They are the design center for Qualcomm, and they are the leader in Qualcomm is a leader in 5G, right? And then 5G, you imagine this 5G is going to change how your internet is going to be, and all the modems, right, you may not be able to work in a 5G environment. That means your current modem will probably need to be changed. And then Powermatic Data, I think they do modems and internet connectivity stuff like this, right? So definitely, I believe there will be value in a long-term basis. This company is good to hold on to, and because after all, 5G is a trend that I'm interested significantly in.
Okay, I'm not too sure how is this going to be related, but Powermatic is their customer is Qualcomm, and then Qualcomm largest customer is actually one of the EV manufacturer in China. Okay, just this is additional information. So
thanks for highlighting.
And obviously, if you all believe in AV, you think that EV is something that is going to be the next, the next mobile phone era. Obviously, you want to pay attention to all these related companies. All right.
Yep.
No problem, Michelle. Thank you very much. We have another question from Leo. So his questions, now you have just explained about concentrated customers and companies that has a diversified type of a customer. So his question is that, which is better, a client base of concentrated customers or a client base with multiple diversified customers?
Maybe I would have left out this point of this information just now. In Singapore, right? Singapore being a very small country globally, to do well in the technology space, right? You cannot do it alone, right? So it's good that you go out and try to get all the customer be diversified. But having said that, what I want to say is that to really stand out within this Singapore tech space, right, you need to partner with somebody that is big, which is those US listed customer companies, in order to be part of their supply chain and to grow. So that's how I see Singapore. Singapore will never be able to. I mean, I don't know lah. Okay, nanofilm is nanofilm technology is another. I'm not very sure about that, but I don't see Singapore companies, starting manufacturing something and then just go out into the world and say, oh, we are going to lead the semicon industry. We are going to lead. This is the new chip in the world. I don't see that happening. So what I see is that our companies in Singapore that wants to be in the lead in the tech space has to have a partner in the world that's huge. So Applied Materials, UMS Applied Materials, Palmatic, Qualcomm, and then let's just say AEM, Intel. But then again, Intel now they're Goyo lah. So so I won't, as how good AEM is, I won't go for AEM right now, regardless, because of their partnership. So you can see that concentration has a risk because it will affect your customer will affect you. But having said that, without Intel, AEM won't be where they are today, right? That is all I'm going to say. And then they won't be able to rise so fast and have $3 plus income. I mean, if you look at the other company that's doing the same thing as AEM, right, it's AV Tech. AV Tech do similar handling and testing measurements and stuff like that. And their share price is about 20. Okay, I'm not sure their exact share price now, but it's definitely lower than AEM. It's not even, I'm not sure if it's even $1 yet. So you can see that's how the expectation of investor visualize this kind of relationship in Singapore. I mean, we are talking about Singapore market here. We're not talking about US market. So it's a totally different ball game here in Singapore when you look at technology space. I hope I explained that well.
Okay, I will again thank you, Terence. I will just add on a little bit of icing on top of what Terence going to say. Intel is no longer GG. Intel has a goal to achieve in this quarter and next quarter, Q1 and Q2. They are right now they are on 7 nanometer manufacturing, the wafer manufacturing on 7 nano, but their yield rate is actually very low, and they are trying to improve it. Currently, Intel has already subcon a lot of their chip manufacturing to TSMC. The first 2 quarters is where we all have to watch Intel very, very carefully, because if Intel is able to get the yield that the investor wants, then naturally Intel will come back very fast. And if Intel comes back very fast, then the supply chain, which is AEM, will benefit as well. So if you want to look at AEM, you may just want to look at Intel, watch their Q1 and Q2 report. That will be very interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a bit of icing. Yeah. Okay. So there's one question from Audrey. Hello, Terence. Thank you for sharing. What percentage of your portfolio would you put into Powermatic? It has run up so much recently. How would you put all your allocation to these stocks in now, or wait for a pullback before going in?
I already gone in.
Well, so Audrey's question was that how many percentage would that be in your portfolio? Yeah.
Percentage.
Yeah. I'm actually in Powermatic as well. Just like you.
So
I have to admit I have it.
Anyway, I mean, it's fine. I think a lot of long-term investor is interested in Powermatic. And in fact, I actually brought and sold Powermatic 1 round or 2 rounds actually, if I'm not wrong. So anyway, as in the last 2 videos that I had with Jimmy, right? I said that I already sold my OCBC plot. Yes, I sold all my OCBC today. Yesterday. So I didn't get this price today. But I brought into Singtel, and I want to invest in the US market. But then again, to be honest, I didn't. the position in OCBC was so huge. If I dump all into Singtel, I got a bit. I started in my mind. I was like thinking, yes, I like Singtel, but putting so huge such a big position in Singtel is like, wow, should I? Then the rest, if I go into US market, US is rising.
Maybe we concentrate on how many percentage
Yeah.
you
So
put on
generally,
Powermatic.
what I want to say is that I don't have a lot of big percentage in Singapore, and then I will only be I tend to have 30% or 40% of portfolio in Singapore stocks. So with that, right, 30%, 40%, I'll probably have 6 to 7 stocks. So about 5% for Powermatic generally. The max I'll probably go is about 5%. Yeah.
And would you go in at today price, or what were you looking for?
I'll just buy today price. If,
okay.
Maybe, sorry, the person is Audrey, right?
Audrey, yeah.
Yeah. So if Audrey is interested, you can sign on my fundamental scorecard, and then you can see the intrinsic value of Powermatic data, and that's what actually made me took the leap into buying immediately.
That's true, because one of the reasons that I bought Powermatic, it was that when we do DCF, discount cash flow, it's actually coming as undervalued at that point of time. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So good. So your scorecard does give that kind of information.
Yes.
So I hope, Audrey, we have answered your questions. Terence has answered your questions. We have another question from Liu. What are your views on Apple building their own 5G modem, and will this be an issue for the future of Powermatic data?
So in that sense, I would say, okay. I'm sorry, I'm trying to link the Apple, Qualcomm, and Powermatic into the same. So Qualcomm supplies chips to Apple, and Apple is building their own modem, right? So Qualcomm will have lesser revenue in that sense. So if Qualcomm has lesser revenue, that will affect Powermatic generally, I would say. It could probably affect Qualcomm, but I don't think Qualcomm only has one major customer. Apple is a major customer of Qualcomm, but I don't think it's so huge that it will affect the whole revenue itself for Qualcomm. So I don't think that will be a major change. That will be a major change in Powermatic revenue. And in fact, right, I think Powermatic has in the last I think one of the full year's financial, they actually said that they are actually they bought some factory or land, and then they are actually going to produce. They are going to go into manufacturing and production. So I think that the mass production era will be here for Powermatic soon, maybe in the next 1 or 2 years. And if that happens, right, I think their revenue will continue to rise as well.
Okay, good. Thank you, Terence. So Liu, I hope that that answers your questions. Do you have more questions coming in?
Yeah.
I do not see any more questions coming in. So, okay, I think that's all for tonight. Thank you very much for attending. So to understand more about what Terence strategy and how he select his stocks for his investment portfolio, please sign up with his seminars next Monday at 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. All right.
Yeah.
And that's where Terence will basically share his whole entire A to Z strategy on how he used his fundamental scorecard to pick his stocks and how he can actually create his portfolio using that methodology. All right. So Terence, do you have any last words for our audience tonight before we call it for a weekend?
I'll stay, enjoy a weekend and stay safe again. After all, now it's COVID. And then don't worry about Monday, because I think the market will still be it's still on a bull run.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right then. All right. So thank you, everyone. Good night. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
All right.